Hello and welcome back to another premiere draft for Modern Horizons 3. This is draft number 14 from June. We're sitting in the lower tiers of Diamond at the moment. Like I said, this in the last video, this is going to be either the last one or the second to last one from June. We got a really late start, and I just didn't have enough time to do more than, on average, about one draft a day, which in July will be very similar. I'll be able to do about one draft a day. A couple days I'll be able to do more, some less. And we'll be making a concerted push in July. So right now, we still made it up to Diamond all the way from the bottom in half a month with, just over double-digit number of drafts. So we're doing pretty okay. We were looking at pack number 1 here. And we have Kudo, King Among Bears, which is a cool card, but not really something I want to first pick. Similarly, Devourer of Destiny is not really something I want to first pick. And then all 3 of the best cards in the pack are red cards. I have played a lot of Galvanic Discharges. I've played a lot of Amped Raptors. I have not gotten the chance to play a lot of Spawn Gang Commanders. So I believe that's what I ultimately wind up taking out of this pack. That said, if I was drafting this today, I would be taking probably either the Discharge or the Raptor. I think both of those cards are ultimately better than the Spawn Gang Commander, personally. Even like Draftsmith has them very closely rated, but it has the Spawn Gang higher at the moment. I really like Amped Raptor in like a Burrow Shell or just Galvanic Discharge because it keeps you open to any of the red archetypes. Here we're going Spawn Gang Commander into Spawn Gang Commander, which I don't know how good this is, but it's a really cool start. And now we have a choice between Ghostfire Slice and Wumpus Aberration. Wumpus Aberration, obviously very good if we want to be in the red-green Eldrazi shell. I like just staying red and taking the very good removal spell here. So right now we've got all red cards, and we're pretty happy about that. This pack, we're not thrilled about, right? We've got the Modal Dual-Faced card in Strength of the Harvest, Johnny Fells the Godsire as just a good card, but it's another 5-drop, and then the Inventor or the Skoa if we were just trying to stay red. As you can see, I took the Johnny Fells the Godsire. I think it's just the most powerful card that was in that pack. I do like being in Boros if I can be, though we passed the Raptor and the Galvanic Discharge, so red might be a bit of a problem in pack 2. And the Ajani is another 5-drop, so at this point, if we do want to be Burrows, we probably want to get our curve a little bit lower. Right here, we take the only kind of playable Burrows card, which is the Dual-Faced card, Strength of the Harvest. If we weren't going to try to take a Burrows card, honestly, this pack is pretty weak. Aether Spike is okay, Dread Mask is okay, and the Transmigrant is okay in the red-black deck, the Affinity deck. But Strength of the Harvest, Modal Dual-Faced card. Here we have a Conduit Goblin or an Area Auxiliary. I did just say that I like to be in the Burrows deck. I like both of these cards, but honestly we have 3 5s already and a couple 3s. I'd like to start picking up the cheaper cards and kind of cement ourselves in a more aggressive Burrows shell. Proud Pack Rhino is fine. Proliferate or Shield Counter, depending on what we need. We do have these Spawn Gang Commanders, so, being able to protect them from removal isn't bad. And again, just having a reasonably aggressive curve. If we're going Goblin into Rhino, we can protect the Goblin so that it can get in and attack right away. So we're pretty okay with this start. It's not the most exciting, but it's an okay start. Better start would just have more 2-drops, basically. Here we have Roscott Knight or Skoa. Neither one is particularly interesting. We're probably going to take this Skoa here. The Meteoric Mace I'm reading, but this card is nigh unplayable. 6 mana, it doesn't equip by itself. You have to pay a total of 10 mana to get it equipped to anything. It does make everything a huge threat by giving it trample. We're just going to put a Cyclops in our deck and see if that's open. That's fine too. I'm probably not playing the Cyclops, and I wouldn't have been excited to play the Skoa, so again, we already have 3 5s. The Skoa is not really what we're looking for. Essence Reliquary is a cool card. I like it more in the Orzhov shells than I do in the Burrow shells, but it can still do some work resetting your energy or resetting like an Aerial Auxiliary so you get more counters out of it. And one of the cool things, because we do already have the Johnny Fells the Godsire and the Spawn Gang commanders, being able to just reset those every turn is also pretty cool. Here's an Accursed Marauder, which is pretty late, honestly. We wheeled an Accursed Marauder. I think that card's very good. It also plays very well with the Essence Reliquary. So, we're kind of looking at that, and we'll see ultimately where we wind up. Right now, we're looking to be a base red deck, but that could change. Again, we passed very good red cards early, so Pack 2 might be a little light when it comes to the red cards. Here, we're just going to take a rare and throw it into our sideboard. Doesn't really matter which one, honestly. Build up those gems. Just keep them coming. So, yeah, right now, obviously we look like a Burrows deck, but the Accursed Marauder is just something that we picked up late that we want to keep an eye on. If we see more black cards late in this pack, or, maybe we open something nutty like a Crabomination or similar, then we can move into black potentially, but not necessarily something we're looking to do, but certainly something that's possible. Here we go, wheeling more black cards. The Kami, I really only like if you're in the Dimir deck. Drossclaw is fine if we do wind up black-red, then having the Drossclaw as one of the affinity enablers while also being something that you can reset with the Essence Reliquary, or just equipping to any kind of an evasive threat. Whether that's like the pigeon or similar, having an evasive threat that has the extra damage coming from both the equipment and the triggered ability of attacking with it is acceptable. Yeah, nothing. This isn't the best start. The cards are playable. I don't feel like we've passed anything other than the 2 red cards in pack 1 that kind of should have dictated us to go into a different direction. This feels pretty okay. Wheeling the Dread Mask is whatever. Again, those, generally speaking, come around pretty late. There are usually a couple of them in the draft if you really want to pick one up. Here's another 1-mana red card, which is good. We like that we got a 1-mana red card. The downs, and it's also good if we wind up in the black-red deck. It is another artifact that helps towards the affinity. Static Prison, very clearly the best card here. Other notable options: Toxic Deluge, Flooded Strand, Charge Bug, Pigeon, and Area Auxiliary, depending on where we ultimately want to go. I'm reasonably certain that Static Prison is just well enough better than these cards that we just want to take it, and we'll still try to be Burrows here. So, unless past me surprises me, I think we get the Static Prison. Yeah. Past me has surprised me before. Here we have Reiterating Bolt or Sundering Eruption, or Hexgold Slith. I like the Reiterating Bolt. We have a lot of top end that can, potentially take over games, and making sure that we get to that top end is important. Plus having just efficient removal when we have aggressive starts. Reiterating Bolt being able to use that energy and make sure that we can take over. If we build up a bunch of energy, being able to clear multiple things or large things because of the Replicate on Reiterating Bolt is pretty good. Proud Pack Rhino number 2 or Hexgold Slith number 1. If we are Burrows, then we really need to be picking up some more 2-drops. Right now, all we have is the Bolt and the Conduit Goblin. I like the Proud Pack Rhino well enough. Maybe a little bit more than the Slith, but it's important to have 2-drops in this case. Here we have a pack that's not great. We have a Rush of Inspiration if we want to stay on the Burrows plan. Void Pouncer is okay. And then we have Eldrazi Repurposer or Wither and Bloom if we wanted to look towards something else. I think the ship has sailed on green cards at the moment. And I'm moving the black cards to the sideboard, so I'm probably not taking this Wither and Bloom here. So, yeah, I like that Wither and Bloom, but it's probably just this Rush. Yep, looks like that's where we're going to wind up. Okay, and here we have a pack with no cards that I really want to play. We could take the Wing It, we could take the Wither and Bloom, we could take the Cranial Ram. If we're staying on Boros, then it's Wing It or Skoa, neither one of which is particularly impressive. Wither and Bloom, very good. Riddle, Gate, Gargoyle, we could potentially try to be Jeskai, but I have not personally found much success or enjoyed playing Jeskai in this format. I find that my mana tends to be a little weaker, even if the card quality is okay. And yeah, so here we are. We wind up with this Wither and Bloom. So we have 3 like pretty good black cards. Here we get another white card in the Nyxborn Unicorn that we're happy to play. Again, another card that's just, we want the 2 mana cards, and if we aren't playing the, if we have the curve out, then we can just play it on 4 and beef up one like a Goblin or similar and make sure that we can still be attacking. Yeah, we're kind of like looking to see what we have in terms of white cards versus black cards. It does appear that red is going to be our base color, so we're kind of like looking to see what we have by way of removal, what we have by way of card advantage, and then the modal dual-faced cards going off to the side. Here's a second amulet. And notably another Accursed Marauder pretty late in this pack. That was pick 8, which means it's wheeling around the table for whoever does ultimately wind up with it. Yeah, we're going to move all the black cards over here. Here we have Jolted Awake, which I'm not a fan of. It's fine, but whatever. We have the Pigeon, which I'm a big fan of, and we have a Flooded Strand, but it only finds one of our colors. With no fetchable dual lands in this format, the fetch lands, realistically, you want them if they are both of your colors, but not really if they're only one, unless for whatever reason you might have like Springheart and Nantuku, or maybe like multiple Pyro Surfers, something along those lines that make it worthwhile to have the extra landfall triggers. Sundering Eruption wheeling is really good. It looks like I'm seeing these Accursed Marauders and kind of waffling on it. I do really like this card. I think that pick should have just been the Sundering Eruption. Here's the Refurbished Familiar number 2. And unfortunately what this is doing is pulling me in a really awkward direction where I'm either a 3-color deck, which I really don't want to be because my mana is not good for it, or I haven't really settled on what deck I'm trying to play here. And unfortunately, I was right about pack 2. We took Reiterating Bolt, double Unstable Amulet, and that's all of the red cards we realistically saw there. And that's unfortunately kind of what we were worried about coming out of pack 1 when we passed the red cards right away, the Amped Raptor and the Galvanic Discharge. People to my left are in red, and I didn't see good red cards in pack 2. So I think for this pack, I really needed to settle between white or black. And unfortunately, I spent a lot of that pack kind of popping back and forth between white and black cards. So as you can see, I've got a lot of good 2-mana black cards. The Consuming Corruption probably doesn't make the cut, but everything else is fine. We do have the Essence Reliquary, which plays exceptionally well with Accursed Marauder. If you guys haven't seen that, I know that happened to me in one of my previous videos. Here's a pick 3 Conduit Goblin, which probably solidifies me, like makes sure that I wind up playing Burrows. Unfortunately, what that also does is it means I wasted a lot of picks in pack 2. So this deck right now is looking to be a little bit underpowered because of it. We have an Inspired Inventor versus a Sheltered Landscape here. Landscape being a white-red mana source, so we can kind of go either way. And now we're back to no white cards. The red cards aren't particularly good. The best cards in this pack are black, and that's it. Like, this is kind of a nightmare draft for us. Very not happy with the way this is ultimately winding up. We're going to come in real close to just barely enough playables by the end of this, the way things are looking. Yeah. Just take the Sarpadian Simulacrum. If we do wind up in the black-red, then the Transmigrant or the Simulacrum serve a similar role, just being a 1-mana artifact. The upside being that Transmigrant is a recursive threat. And here we have Charge Bug versus Cranial Ram. There's a chance that we could wheel those other Cranial Rams. I think at this point I should have just kind of locked in on black as the black-red deck. But I just didn't want to give up the double Goblin, the Static Prison. Like, a lot of my best cards are the white cards here. And yeah, I think I might have drafted my seat wrong. The Lethal Throwdown there would have been fine. Not exciting, but fine. And here we go again, where we have two, like, playable black cards and a bunch of stuff that I don't really want to touch. Not much to say here. I'm disappointed in this draft. Jolted Awake is okay, but I really am not a fan of playing this card. Yeah, here's a Drawsclaw, I guess. And I'm just going to be sad about it. We have two of them. Pyretic Rebirth, another Accursed Marauder. Yeah. I think that ultimately this deck should be the Black-Red Affinity deck. We have a bunch of Accursed Marauders. I think ultimately I just messed this draft up. Yep, there's a Pyro Surfer, or what's it called? Reckless Pyro Surfer. We wheeled the Charge Bug, so we got enough of the red cards back that we have playables at least. We're gonna have to make a couple cuts, but again, like we're just barely over the threshold. There's a last pick Cranial Ram. I absolutely should have been in the red-black affinity deck for this draft. I think trading out those white cards for some red cards would have just served me better, but it is what it is. Here we are. I'm okay cutting the Sarpedian Simulacrum since we don't really have any payoffs. We don't have the affinity payoffs. We have the two modal dual face lands, so 16, 18 mana sources as is. In the game, or sorry, not the game. The Draftsmith wants me to cut the Essence Reliquary, which is fine. I think I'd rather play it over the Void Pouncer, personally. Void Pouncer doesn't really excite me. I have no colorless sources outside of the Spawn Gang Commander tokens, so it's very rare that I'm going to kick it, and I'm not at a loss for 2-drops, which is a good thing, but still this deck isn't fantastic. So I'd rather just have the Essence Reliquary so that I can reset like a Johnny Fills the Godsire or Raoul or Spawn Gang Commander or any of my energy sources. Even a Static Prison, being able to Static Prison something, and then if my opponent plays something better later, we can pick it up with the Essence Reliquary and reset the Static Prison on a more important threat once the board is more stable. Opening hand is fine. We have the Strength of the Harvest as a 5th land if we need to play it, but we also had 3 basics, so we're going to lead on the basics here and make sure that we try to hit those before we throw away a potential spell. So, opponent on green-red and has the turn 2 Dryad. We don't have a way to clear it right away, so we are in danger of something like a Writhing Chrysalis on turn 3 that we really don't have any answers to in our hand. Our removal is a little lacking. We have the Spawn Gang Commanders that can shoot stuff down over time, but, you know, we only get so many shots with it. We have the Reiterating Bolt and the Static Prison. And then we have things like the Ajani's and the Rals that can clean up smaller things. So, not tremendously excited. But here we are, and we're gonna see what we can do with it. So here, especially because we have 5 lands at this point, the Strength of the Harvest becomes more appealing as a spell. I can either Strength of the Harvest onto the Hexgold Slith so that I can attack through what my opponent's got going on. I can give first strike and I'd be attacking for 4. So there's no good blocks here. My opponent would have to give up either their Dryad or... They can double block and make this just a 2-for-1 in their favor. Which I think might be what they do. They can block and adapt. I have to give first strike. And then, so yeah, if they double block here, we can clear the Dryad, but then they adapt and the Brood Scale kills the Hex Goldsmith, or they can adapt and chump block, or they can just not block at all if they don't care about this Hex Goldsmith. Unfortunately, we're not applying more pressure, and our hand didn't really lead to anything that would allow us to double spell that turn. So if we could have played, a 2-drop and a 1-drop, or if this was turn 4 and we could have gone like Amulet and Charge Bug, then obviously that makes it better. But this being turn 3 and only being able to cast 1 spell a turn, we kind of wanted to start getting some damage in. And yeah, opponent just has the Fanged Flames, clears our threat. Now next turn we're going to get to double spell, but we're so far behind. Opponent has 4 creatures to our none. So this game just not playing out particularly well. The only good news is that our opponent didn't have the Chris on turn 3, but other than that, nothing's going right. One of the things that we could have done here and probably should have is played the Amulet first and see what we flip off of it before we play our Charge Bug or land for that matter. Turns out we probably would have made the same play, Mountain out of hand and the Charge Bug. We now have the Plains, which is not bad. We're going to hit another land drop, so the Amulet did in fact dig us deeper into the deck, but we have no good blocks here. They can adapt the Hydra Trainer and attack either exerted or not with whatever they want, and I can't really do much about it. Yep. So unfortunately, we're going to take 6 kind of at a minimum here, and more if they decide to exert the Hydra Trainer and attack with more things. So, yep. Honestly, I like attacking with the spawn token too, exerting and just putting the +3/+3 onto the token. And then if I want to block the Nightshade Dryad, then it's got Depth Touch, and otherwise everything else would be 3 power. So yeah, I have like no good blocks here. I'm just throwing away my Charge Bug to stop 4 damage. The only good news is that the Hydra Trainer isn't untapping next turn, and we can potentially clear something with this Ajani's. I believe it's power 3 or greater for the Ajani's, so yeah, or we can flood the board with the Spawn Gang Commander. Again, not exciting, but at least we put blockers into play, and it buys us some time. So we can, yeah, if we do it this way, that because we know the Hydra Trainer is not untapping, then we can Ajani Fells the Godsire the Hydra Trainer next turn. With this play, what we kind of get to do, and it's not great, but we can declare one of the spawns as a chump blocker, then throw all 3 spawns to clear the Nightshade Dryad. But again, that's not particularly exciting. That still leaves them with the Basking Brood Scale, the Hydra Trainer that we can clear with the Ajani's, and we have all lands besides that and no more energy. This Dread Mask is basically a nightmare considering Spawn Gang Commander was my top end. So now we can clear that, I guess. But they just move it around. Like, they have the mana to just move it around. No attacks is interesting. I guess they figure I would just block, but even so, like, I don't think if I'm them I would mind losing the Dryad. But I guess I think maybe that's wrong on my part. If we kill off the Dryad before they untap, then they're not showing 5 mana. Okay, so we do realize that at least. So we're killing off the Dryad because they're not showing 5 mana, and they did miss a land drop just now. And I think they missed a land drop last turn as well, maybe. I'm not sure. They might have just missed the one. Unfortunately, they have it, so this Dread Mask is going to get on something, and now I have a 9/9 to contend with while I'm at 11, and all I have is a Spawn Gang Commander, which does not do a good job of trying to clear large creatures. It that heralds the end doesn't really matter. We can chump block the 4/4. This also means they're not equipping the Dread Mask, so theoretically they have something else to do. Okay. or they're just attacking. I don't have any good blocks for this either, to be perfectly honest. If I chump with the spawn token to prevent 4 damage, that's fine. We go to 8. But then I don't have the colorless source or the spawn to sacrifice to kill the it that heralds the end. Whew. Yeah, nothing about this is particularly good for me. I think it's worth chumping, because we know they have a pile of trample damage coming. Yeah. Yep. So chump the 4, go to 8. It was hard for us to try to trade off with that 8 that heralds the end anyway. Static Prison is a pretty okay draw. So we get a 2-1 cat. We put a vigilance counter somewhere, sure. We get to Static Prison, exile a non-land permanent, so we can hit the Colossal Dread Mask here, which I'm not sure I knew. Yeah, I'm thinking I didn't realize that I could just hit the Dread Mask here. So we just take the 3/3 that's like threatening extra damage. We're going to do this while we only have 2 lands in hand, so we draw another land and Inventor. We're not going to pay the energy, and we discard our only spell. So that's exciting. 25% chance to discard a spell. We hit the 25% chance and are sad about it. And now, what? We can attack with our Vigilant guy and see if they trade, and then die to the Dread Mask just going onto the Brood Scale, because we don't have anything to do about it, and if we did, we'd have done it already. Yeah, the Static Prison should have hit the Dread Mask. We're still in a bad spot. They have a way to make their guy indestructible, so now nothing matters. Yep. We got absolutely demolished that game. We drew a lot of lands. We discarded at random when we had 3 lands in our hand and 1 spell and discarded the spell. It is what it is. Bad RNG is bad. So, on to game 2. We'll see what we can do with this deck. Again, I don't think the deck is terrible, but we didn't pick a lane fast enough. We could have had a better deck in the draft, I think. And we just wound up in the Boros deck instead of the Rakdos deck because I couldn't make up my mind. We mulliganed that hand. It was 4 lands, a 1-drop, and 2 3-drops, none of which are particularly exciting. The Simulacrum just doesn't do enough, and Double Inventor isn't good enough at clogging up the board or being aggressive, so we're just looking for a more aggressive start. I think... Okay, putting the land to the bottom I think would have been okay. We were playing many 5-drops, but we would have had 3 lands in our hand anyway with an Amulet. But putting the Inventor to the bottom is also fine. We can try to curve out without the Inventor. Playing the Charge Bug so that we just have a thing that can potentially be attacking. Snapping Voidcraw. Our opponent has Temur Eldrazi and a lot of mana, and that's probably not good, but here we go. Here's our Amulet. We'll see what we find off the Amulet. Okay, we'll play a Simulacrum and then see what we find off the Amulet. So this is the second game in a row where I should have just activated the Amulet first, though I don't think I had any other 1-drops that I could have hit. We could have also played the Amulet before we played our land for turn, because if it was the Rush, we could have played that as a tapped land rather than playing the Simulacrum, but not that big a deal. Opponent using 6 mana that turn, drawing an extra card, finding the land that they were apparently digging for. So we're looking to... We need for this Ral in the Implicit Maze to do some work, and unfortunately our opponent only loses 1 thing to it. So in a perfect world, our opponent plays a bunch of 2 toughness creatures this turn. In a not-so-perfect world, that doesn't happen. We also did just get rid of their Voidcraw, right? Now that we have the chance. Trade our Goblin for their Soul Ring, which, yeah, I'll take that trade. We'll take 3 here. They did put some Scions into play with Path of Annihilation, and we can make that significantly worse with the Rals. So, Rals here sweeping up a Serum Visionary and the 2 Scion tokens. It doesn't kill the Repurposer, but that's okay. We did just deny our opponent a bunch of mana, which honestly I think we have to do against the Temur Eldrazi deck. And, you know, we're flooding again a little bit. So hopefully we can discard this Mountain to get 2 cards deeper. One of the cool synergies here is playing the cards out of exile from the Rals will also trigger our Amulet, or Amulets now that we drew a second one, if we potentially want to play that. We have 2 turns to play the cards from Rals as well. We don't have to play them this turn. We can play them this turn or next turn, which is nice. So yeah, I think what we want to do is play this Unstable Amulet, get some extra energy. I think we want to play the Rush of Inspiration as a land, or we can activate the second Amulet before we make that decision. Yeah, good job, me. You did it right this time. Okay, Essence Reliquary with the Ral and the Implicit Maze might come in handy. So right now it only cleans up the Emrakul's Messenger, but if our opponent's plan is to get a bunch of spawn into play to try to get some bigger stuff, I like resetting this Ral and the Implicit Maze now while we have the chance. We do have to remember not to utilize that first Amulet right now, while it still has the Goblin under it. At least not yet. So we are not ahead by any means. Our opponent has 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 mana at their disposal right now, so they can cast most of the big Eldrazi in this set. Kozilek's Unsealing is a little scary, knowing that they have the 8 mana. The Ral and the Implicit Maze can clean up the Emrakul's Messenger, but only the Emrakul's Messenger at the moment. So, let's see what they want to do. The good news, at least, they can't draw cards off the Void Craw. They don't have... Okay, Kozilek's Unsealing. Now they have more spawn. They didn't have a colorless source to activate the Void Craw. So, depending on what they copy, yeah, they're copying the Repurposer, which I think that's the correct thing for them to do. We're going to take 5 here and be sad about it, and then we're going to play this Rouse and sweep up the tokens and the Messenger again. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We have 6 mana. We're probably going to play this Strength. If we draw a land... Okay, we didn't draw a land. Yeah, we can use the second Amulet that doesn't have the Goblin to try to find a land. We find a land. Okay, so we get to land, and now we can play the Conduit Goblin and the Ral and the Implicit Maze. So we get to sweep up, again, our opponent's tokens, which the fact that we can keep resetting this Rals to make sure that our opponent never gets too out of hand with the tokens is kind of the only saving grace that we've got going on here. And these amulets are just slowly but surely plucking their way at our opponent. 2 more energy so that we can activate the amulet again if we want to. And now we can make a decision if we want to activate the Essence Reliquary on the Rals now, or if we want to let it sit there so that we can get 2 cards deeper into our deck next turn. Given that I don't think the Strength of the Harvest or the Reckless Pyrosurfer is going to do very much right now, I think I'd rather just hold on to the Rals and give it a minute. But and this is what I was mentioning during deck construction. The Essence Reliquary's ability to reset these sagas and get multiple uses out of the Chapter 1s, potentially. We did lose that Inventor, since we didn't cast it this turn. We had 2 turns to cast the cards from the Rals. That one wasn't exiled by an Amulet. Warp Tusker is a problem, as I'm sure you guys can see. They're attacking with the Repurposer. I'm taking this trade. I think it's correct to double block the Copy Crook if they discard a land, and the regular one if they don't. We want to make sure that that thing doesn't get to be a 4/4 here. It also turns it into a token, but we don't care about the token because we can sweep it up with the Rouse if we need to, or if we want to, by bouncing it and resetting it again. That said, this Warp Tusker is a problem. So, activate the Unstable Amulet. Get a card deeper. There's another land. Lands are actually pretty okay. We're also going to discard this land. Yep, keep our spells. And we find our Ajani Fells the Godsire, which is enormous. We get to clear the Warp Tusker. Shoot our opponent again. And now our opponent's pressure is cut pretty drastically down. We can play out the Pyro Surfer here just as another blocker so we can double block the Repurposer again. We don't have any energy at the moment, which is unfortunate, but that's, just kind of what it is. So no more activations of the amulet just yet. And I think it's worth picking up the Rouse here. Though a fun trick we could do is wait till next turn and let Chapter 3 go off where we get the weird token and pick it up with that trigger on the stack. But I think it's worth picking up and actually just going back and forth between this Ajani Fells the Godsire and the Rouse, depending on what our opponent winds up doing here. Black and a colorless is a little scary, though they might just be trying to activate, this Void Craw. So they're just adding black because that's the one they flipped to, I guess. The first one they clicked on. Not really worried about lands at this point. Our opponent has had all the mana they could need most of this game. The Rouse have just been trying to keep the Scions in check so they can't just, do everything every turn. More Scions. We truly actually don't care about these Scions. We're not going to block. Take the one. Stun counter comes off. Okay, we get a cat. So now we have a chump blocker for, forever. It's fine. Vigilance counter on the bug. Sure, whatever. We get our land for turn. Trigger the Pyro Surfer. That doesn't matter. And now Rouse to clean up all these Scion tokens. We have 4 mana left over, so we can Strength of the Harvest if we want to make something be able to rumble. Or we can just... we could bounce a amulet if we want to. But I think we're just trying to bounce the Ajanis here. Make it so that we can clear the Petrifying Meddler next turn. Again, okay, we're bouncing the... No, okay, we're enchanting the bug. So the bug is now a very large menace threat, so we actually have a clock. And then the Essence Reliquary picks up the Ajani Fells the Godsire. And again, we're just going to keep flickering back and forth between these two sagas. We go Pyroclasm, kill your big thing. Pyroclasm, kill your big thing. Pyroclasm, kill your big thing. Ad nauseum until we can try to close out this game. And now that we have a charge bug that's quite large and able to block, and we don't care at all about this 2/1 cat. There's no way it's correct to be attacking with just the Void Craw here, so I assume, yeah. Emrakul's Messenger's fine. We have this Rouse. Honestly, if we want to, we can just pick up the Rouse and play it if we're not worried about this 4/5. So here we go. We get to discard a land. Dig 2 cards deeper again. And remember that all the spells that we cast from exile, we just get to trigger the Unstable Amulet over and over again, too. Alright. So Essence Reliquary proving its worth and why I wanted it in the deck. Imagine that was a Void Pouncer, and think about how badly this game goes if that was a Void Pouncer instead of a Essence Reliquary. So, Essence Reliquary is a real cool card. It doesn't see play a ton in Boros, but it's very good. Well, not very good. It has its uses in this format. So, moving on to the next one. 1-1. Again, still pretty disappointed in this deck, but it does do some cool things. We have all red mana. We have 3 lands. We have a 1-drop and a 2-drop. The 2-drop digs us deeper. I think this hand is a keep, but it's not an exciting one. Sarpedian Simulacrum in. As Raging Goblins go, Sarpedian Simulacrum is not bad. The ability to shoot down a 4 toughness creature later in the game while just being an artifact for the affinity purposes, I think the card's actually pretty good. It's not my favorite by any means, but it certainly has a role to play in this format. Conduit Goblin, good card. No white source yet. We're a few cards deep. So we are going to need to draw a white source sometime in the near future, but it doesn't have to be right away. If we draw another red source here, we can play the rush. There's a white source at least. It comes into play tapped, which means we have no plays this turn, which is terrifying considering our opponent just played a Warden Power Stone. But the reason we're not leaving the Simulacrum back to block is our opponent can just adapt the Hydra Trainer and attack through it, so leaving it back to block just doesn't really accomplish anything. The Wombat, pretty scary. Good news is they only have one green source, so they can't adapt anything right this minute. But yeah, none of this is... Opponent's got some scary stuff going on over there. Idol of the False Gods takes a long time to do anything, so it's not the most worrisome thing. I think I just need to clear this Cursed Wombat before my opponent gets to do much with it. So I'm pretty sure this is just land, sacrifice the Simulacrum, go. We could theoretically wait for our opponent to pay mana into adapting and do it that way. But yeah, I don't know. It's probably better to wait. Just make our opponent spend mana. But while they're tapped out, we know that the black-green modal dual-faced card gives indestructible until end of turn for a single mana, and our opponent has the Worn Power Stone in play. So I think we just needed to clear the Wombat. Static Prison is a pretty good draw there. It is our only white source, which means, again, we're stuck, like, not double spelling if we play the Prison. Our draw has just been very awkward. At least we're not under a tremendous amount of pressure. We played the Prison before we used the Rush because we know we're about to discard at random. So we wanted to make sure that the Prison wasn't the randomly discarded card. We're also a little jaded from last game where we or 2 games ago where we discarded our only spell. Alright. Hydra Trainer, adapt, attack for 3. Makes sense. Also, kind of good news for me. It means my opponent doesn't really have much to do if all they're doing is giving their guy +2/+2 and attacking. So we can't activate the amulet because we need this mana to keep the Gargantua locked down. We don't want our opponent getting that back. And now we can finally start casting some of the spells in our hand, or like the Conduit Goblin. Yeah, so Inspired Inventor. Like, I want the energy because we have the amulet. I also kind of want a better blocker. Opponent is in black, so, like, Wither and Bloom is a real thing. There's a lot of cards that can make my blocks difficult. So, I think I just want the energy here. Making my guy a 3/3 and just have it Wither and Bloomed and get basically no real value does not appeal to me at the moment. One of the things my opponent can do is Worn Power Stone, activate the Idol of the False Gods, and then sacrifice the guy and Wither and Bloom still. Here's the Goblin. Trigger the amulet, boop you. I'm not excited about, but don't mind double blocking, just to get my opponent to use spells. Especially if we're stockpiling energy, the Static Prison gets to stick around, and the Unstable Amulet is getting us the card advantage. If opponent is using their spell to clear this double block on a couple Grizzly Bears, that's not the worst thing in the world for me. So there's the extra swamp. So what do we got? 4, 5, 6, 7 mana. Okay. All right, there go my hopes and dreams of double blocking. Still not the biggest deal. Nightshade Dryad, sure. And probably just attack for 3 here. If they want to, they can attack for 6. They can, or not 6, 5. Yeah, I like that. Just switch this spawn into a different spawn to get a counter on the idol. And, you know, that good old F6 value, except they have a spawn, so they don't actually get to F6. Reiterating Bolt is nice. We have a bunch of energy stockpiled, so pay the energy here to keep the Gargantua locked down, and then we can Reiterating Bolt, pay 3 energy, clear the Hydra Trainer and the Dryad, and also play an Inspired Inventor to get more energy so that the Static Prison sticks around. It's not the worst. Replicate 1 time, clear our opponent's threats. We're also casting a spell from exile, so we get to boop them with the amulet again. Copy there, kill the Dryad, kill the Hydra. We have a guy. We do need to make some more energy so that the Static Prison keeps the Gargantua locked down, so we are kind of forced into playing the Inspired Inventor this turn. Not that I think that's bad, just pointing it out. So, Inventor, energy, yup. And we now have at least some control over this board. We could activate the amulet, but it's a little risky. If we don't find another energy source, that means the Gargantua is coming back. And there's a hard cast Crabomination, which is awful. I'm not actually sure I've ever beaten this card. Mountain, of course, they hit the Spawn Gang Commander out of my graveyard. So, about as bad as that could have gone. They have the Idol that they can use these tokens for. They have the Worn Power Stone, so they can just activate almost indiscriminately. And now I'm kind of sitting here like, oh, well, Rouse or bust, I guess. Like, this is bad. Essence Reliquary to reset the Static Prison and get rid of that Crabomination, as I mentioned before. But, yeah, this is not looking good for me. We have 2 energy again. We're just playing out all of our stuff, because we got to be able to try to do something about this Crabomination. We could put a shield counter somewhere, but if we put a shield counter, they can respond by shooting with the Spawn Gang. I think it's better to just have the extra energy, because that represents 1 more turn of locking down the Crabomination, or half of a draw with the Unstable Amulet. Opponent sacrificing 2 guys to put 2 counters on the Idol and remake one of the guys. So basically just trade 1 guy for 2 counters on the Idol is what happened there. And now they kind of get to go nuts. So float mana with the Worn Power Stone, tap a land, sacrifice 1 of their guys to shoot down 1 of my 2/2s. Doesn't really matter which one, they're all the same at this point. Pyrosurfer has the highest upside, so probably that one first. Yep. Get another counter on the Idol. Activate Spawn Gang again by... Yeah, they already floated all the mana. Activate Spawn Gang again to clear another 2/2. The only good news here, if there's anything resembling good news, is I might get to double block this Crabomination, and I'm not sure that actually counts as good news. They can sack 1, horrific assault, and now we can't double block. I'm pretty off this game. Like, I guess I'm technically not dead here, but I'm not beating this Crabomination that got my Spawn Gang Commander into Worn Power Stone and Idol. That was, I don't know, I had 3 or 4 cards in my graveyard, and they hit the one that matters the most, and it was one that I discarded randomly off the rush. So it just, bleh. That was unkind, Arena. Unkind. Bad RMG is bad. So, 1 and 2 with this deck. Feels not great. This game is a travesty. So I play this just to get some energy, and then don't. And then reread my card and realize that you only get the energy if you exile something. So I just threw away one of the best removal spells in my deck, because... And the thing I was thinking was that yeah, I was just trying to get the energy because I had the amulet and the ability to pick it back up with the Essence Reliquary, and instead I just threw it away like a dummy because I didn't realize that card did that. I just didn't realize it. So No excuses. I punted the crap out of that, and it feels terrible. So at this point, I know me, and now we've gone, from bad RNG into bad play, which is going to compound, and I'm probably going to play worse. I am a sad boy right now through my own actions, which is, the worst. I think we should just play this Essence Reliquary and reset the amulet. It's not exciting, but we don't have any energy because we threw away our static prison like a dummy. And yeah, so one thing that's worth noting is our opponent got priority there. And I don't know if past me noticed or was paying attention, but the only card that theoretically gives my opponent priority there is Flare of Denial. They had a blue creature untapped, and the only free card in the set that you can do anything with, given that context, is Flare of Denial. And again, they got priority again, but this time it could have been the Battle Wagon. We're just getting in for 2 here. Pretty whatever. Battle Wagon's going to do Battle Wagon things. That's fine. But as soon as I put another spell in the stack, and they get priority again, it just confirms that they have the Flare of Denial, which I don't think I thought about at the time. Royal Cartographer with Battle Wagon, there's a landfall, they have a fetch land in play. Like, this card's... There's another 2, yeah. So they can just draw 3 next turn already. And, yeah, I'm not coming out from under a Royal Cartographer. I don't think that's going to draw 3 multiple times in a game. And again, like, I'm going to cast a 5-drop here, most likely, and get it Flare of Denialed, and just be excruciatingly sad about it, I think. Pyrosurfer, do your thing. Here's this Voltstorm Angel, which... I don't know. Is this good enough for a Flare? Probably is, right? Maybe not. They have the Zealot that can just kind of keep it locked down for forever. Their rope's running, so again, like I said, in this case, again, they can activate the Battle Wagon, but I just think that it's too likely they have Flare in hindsight. Very sad. So what are we doing? We're gonna crew the Battle Wagon. Okay. And then Flare the Angel. Yeah, okay. We're crewing with the Serum Visionary before we Flare, which, good play by my opponent. It means that my attacks are terrible right now. A moment ago, I could have, because I have Battle Cry with the Pyrosurfer, I could have used 1 energy from the Goblin on the Pyrosurfer, attacked with both Battle Cry on the Goblin, and then I have a pair of 3 power attackers into a board that, at the moment, had only 3 toughness creatures. So here's my opponent's first Ancestral Recall. Again, with a fetch land up, a Battle Wagon that gets them 2 energy a turn. Another Visionary is fine. I like Visionary a lot in this format, actually. Serum Visions, the card, I've never been particularly high on. I also, grew up playing with Brainstorms and then Ponders, and then, yeah. Another fetch land, so they can fetch twice here. Very cool deck by my opponent. There's a Swamp, so Esper, apparently. There's a Refurbished Familiar, which is not great for me. I think the correct discard here was a Johnny Fells the Godsire rather than the Spawn Gang Commander, given what I see from my opponent. A Johnny Fells the Godsire is never going to be able to hit that Battle Wagon, and I think the Spawn Gang Commander with the Essence Reliquary, basically every time you play the Spawn Gang Commander, you can use the 3 Scions to shock something. So just by virtue of bouncing the Spawn Gang Commander every turn, even with no other colorless sources, I can just keep shocking down my opponent's board. So that's clear the Familiar, clear the Visionary. If I can save it for a turn, then I can start clearing the 3 toughness creatures. And yeah, I think I think I should have discarded the Ajani Fells the Godsire, because right now it's rotting in my hand, and my opponent has shown me no targets, nor are they particularly likely to show me a target. We also should have activated the Amulet before playing the Charge Bug, because we have plenty of 2-drops in our deck, and the Amulet, drawing extra cards is important. So, one of those cases where, like I said, my mistakes are compounding. Frustration sets in, and yeah, here's another landfall. It's another fetch land. Our opponent's deck is very cool, by the way. 2 fetch lands plus landscapes with the Royal Cartographer. I don't know if they have more than one of them, but this is the 3rd Ancestral Recall in 3 turns. Like, they're doing a very good job of making energy and taking full advantage of this Royal Cartographer. So there's an Essence Reliquary of their own, so now they get to bounce the Refurbished Familiar and just play this over and over again. So yeah. Like I said, this Ajani Fells the Godsire that's doing absolutely nothing. Should have been gone a while ago, and then I stopped this from happening because the Spawn Gang Commander could have taken care of the Familiar a while ago. So instead of all that, we're just down to no cards in hand. No good attacks. We can use some energy for this Amulet. There's a Slith that doesn't matter. Play the Slith, use the Amulet. Like, this Slith cannot really attack here, right? Like, I can potentially use a bunch of energy. There's another land. Pirate Surfer triggers. Bounce the Unstable Amulet so that we can get another card deeper. Again, the Reliquary doing good work comparatively to what the Void Pouncer would be doing. There's another land. It's very not happy about that. But no real good attacks here. Opponent can just animate the Battle Wagon whenever they want. Like I said, here's the 3rd Ancestral Recall in 3 turns. I don't have a good way. Like, I'm trying to grind to the best of my ability with the Amulet and the Reliquary, and we're drawing several cards a turn because of it, but opponent is drawing more cards thanks to this Cartographer plus Battle Wagon, all these fetch lands that are making sure, and then any card that, makes energy. So they get to reset their Familiar again. Or if they get tired of doing that, they can start resetting their Serum Visionary and just dig deeper into their deck. Twisted Riddle Keeper probably just closes this game up, right? Between the Riddle Keeper and the Familiar, they'll be attacking in the air very efficiently. That's a 2-turn clock. That's 7 in the air 2 turns in a row. So I have 2 turns to find outs to what my opponent is doing. They can reset their Familiar this turn still. Just depends if they want to. Yeah, I'm kind of looking through my deck, see if there's anything I really have. A second Battle Wagon, so now they're going to get to Ancestral again. Their Royal Cartographer is better than any Royal Cartographer I have ever played, personally, and that's awesome for them. Very sad for me. Amulet, draw a card. I don't care if I discard this Simulacrum, so I guess we're playing this thing. Boop you with the Amulet. Draw 2. Alright. I don't... Yeah, none of these cards super matter. Those Battle Wagons are gonna... I think I just die. I'm just dead on the spot, aren't I? They make 4 energy with the wagons. They use 1 of it to tap down a guy with the Zealot. Can they double animate next turn? They can double animate. Any land gets them another energy, so the Zealot can tap down another thing. 5, 10. I have to chump block 1 of the wagons. Take 10, 12, 13. Alright, so any kill spell and I'm dead. Any card that gives energy is bad for me. I play this. They very simply tap it with the Zealot. Yeah, I think I'm dead. Target this thing. Tap that thing. They could have waited to see if I pay the energy, for what it's worth. I don't think it matters. I think I'm super dead here, but... No attacks. Like, I couldn't attack if I wanted to. The Riddle Keeper and the Battle Wagons alone are too much. So, yeah, they can either draw 3 cards, but I don't think they have to here. The Battle Wagons can animate for 4 energy. So I think here they just go make 4 energy with the Battle Wagons, and then land plus energy card, or land kill spell energy card. They can actually Essence Reliquary a land back, so that doesn't even matter. Alright, well, they're not double animating, they're just burying me in cards, which, that's fine too. Like I said, I'm probably dead to almost anything here. Just keep me on the 2-turn clock. Okay. They can tap down up to 3 things, depending on what they have for energy. We're using a colorless instead of cracking a landscape. Okay. Roscott Knight, sure. Rosecott? Roscott? Unsure. They found a Muster the Departed. Okay. Sure. Alright, so opponent very much just playing patiently. They know they've got me more or less locked up. Looks like the Black Splash is just for the familiar, though, so far. No other black cards that we've seen. Use my energy on the Amulet. Find another land. Concede. None of my board stops them from killing me with flying creatures, I guess. I can Simulacrum down the familiar. So if we Simulacrum down the familiar, they have 6 in the air, not 7. Tap a guy. Yeah. Okay. I have no attacks. I don't have any evasion. They have 5/6s on defense. I've just never been able to, like, do anything this game. Like, we've hit land drops. We've been able to draw a bunch of extra cards with the Amulet. But I haven't accomplished anything. So, we know they have the Must of the Departer. I wonder if it's correct to Simulacrum on my turn, though I suppose having a blocker and then sacrifice, because like I'm dying in the air regardless, so I don't think it matters. We also discarded our Johnny Fells the Godsire, so I don't think I have any outs to this Twisted Riddle Keeper. We have some energy, not a lot of energy. We might be able to Reiterating Bolt it. Is that the only shot I've got? I don't have enough energy to Reiterating Bolt right now. Spawn Gang Commander. We have enough mana to cast it. That's a lot of blockers. But then we can't Simulacrum. Well, we can Spawn Gang down the Familiar, which is kind of the same as Simulacruming down the Familiar. So we're technically not dead, which is the best kind of not dead. Yeah, shoot the Familiar before anything else happens. We have... Okay. Well, again, we're not dead. We're just not doing well either. Take 6, go to 1. We can chump block that. or we can trade with it. Yeah, just double Goblin. Just trade with this thing. They can Essence Reliquary it back to their hand if they want to. That's not anything that we're overly concerned with. Dog Umbra is annoying, but fine. We're basically trading one Goblin for a Dog Umbra. So that could be worse. And then Angel of Ruins just blows up any of our potential here. So, alright, what could we potentially draw? If we draw the Rouse, we're dead to the Sphinx. If we draw the Reiterating Bolt, we're dead to the 1/1 flyers. Yeah, there is nothing in my deck that can get me out of both the Sphinx and the rest of their board. So I think the Angel just seals the deal. It clears the Reliquary and the Amulet, which are my only ways of getting any kind of card advantage. So, yeah, we were dying to the flyers. Opponent drew so many cards off of their Royal fella. Yeah, the draft didn't go well. The games didn't go particularly well. We had the one game where we got to showcase kind of what the Essence Reliquary with the Sagas was capable of. But the rest of the games, we played badly. We drafted badly, and this is what happens when that happens. If you don't draft well and you don't play well, you don't win. And we fell right into that camp. So anyway, thanks for joining. We've got like one more left for the June run, and then we'll start up the July videos. At this point, we are early in August, so all of the videos are done. I just need to get them edited and get them uploaded. So I hope you guys stick with me, and we'll be trying real hard to make sure we hit Mythic in July. Everybody have a wonderful night. Thank you. Bye.